In this video, we'll learn how to find the y-intercept from a table. First thing, you need to know what a y-intercept is. The y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So in our first couple examples, it's pretty easy to find our y-intercept because on the table we have a place where we can see that x is equal to 0. On the first table, x is equal to 0 right here, which means the y-intercept is always its partner, so the y-intercept in our first table is 5. And the way that we write that is b equals 5. In our second table, also pretty easy, here's our 0 in the x, and so that means our y-intercept is 8. And we write, once again, b equals 8. b is the variable that we use for y-intercept. Let's do a quick check before we try a trickier problem on our next table. See if you can identify the y-intercept. Pause the video, write your answer, and then let's check. So here's where x is equal to 0, so that should mean that our y-intercept is 11. In our last example, it's a little trickier. Sometimes people will think that 3 is the y-intercept because they see a 0 here, but that 0 is not for x, that 0 is for y. And as we look at our table, there are no zeros for x. So we would need to work backwards in order to find that. And simply follow our pattern backwards. So if we work backwards, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, the next value would be 0. And then follow the pattern backwards for the y's as well. This is, as we work backwards, it is decreasing by 4 each time. So that would mean the y value should be negative 4. b equals negative 4. So to review how to find the y-intercept, simply find where x is equal to 0. Sometimes it's given to you on the table, and sometimes you may need to work backwards or forwards in order to find where x is equal to 0. And then you've basically found the y-intercept because the y-intercept will always be partnered with the x equal to 0. If you have any questions about finding the y-intercept from a table, ask your teacher at your next class.